Coincidence. What are the chances that a coincidence could occur in which two crime partners that grew up and lived in the same area, Coconut Grove, South Miami, were plotting to rob a numbers house in that same area? Coincidentally, one of them goes to jail, and the very next day, allegedly someone else with the same name as the jailed partner filled in his shoes and carried out the crime. This person, whom grew up and lived 20 miles away, didn't know any of the partners or anyone else from the area for the matter, nor did any of them know him, was arrested for this crime. How could he have participated in the crime with the unjailed partner? There is a far greater chance of lightning striking in the same place multiple times than for Thomas J. James to have participated in the crimes that he is convicted of. Vincent Dog Williams was plotting to rob the McKinnon's apartment with one of his partners in crime, Thomas Tommy James. Tommy had been inside the apartment before because he is related to Mrs. McKinnon. He and Vincent grew up, hung, and still lived in the area, which they were known for robbing the local hustlers in.
There's a far greater chance of lightning striking in the same place multiple times than for Thomas J. James to have participated in the crimes he is convicted of. The odds of lightning striking multiple times in the same place are 1 in 9 million. This line was used to emphasize that about the same odds would have to be probable in an instance like this, in order for Thomas J. James to have been present and committed this crime. The amount of coincidences that took place leading up to the incarceration of Jay is almost too good to be true.
On January 16, 1990, Thomas Tommy James was arrested. Nevertheless, the very next day, on January 17, 1990, the McKinnon's apartment was robbed, where Mr. McKinnon was fatally shot. Vincent Dog Williams obviously followed through with the plan, but it could not have been with Thomas Tommy James. So who would he get to take Thomas Tommy James's place? One of his other partners in crime, right? Then why is Thomas J. James, a total stranger, in prison for this? To believe that Thomas J. James took the place of Thomas Tommy James and committed the crime with Vincent Dog Williams is to believe something close to the following happened. Vincent Dog Williams miraculously somehow traveled 20 miles, found and recruited Thomas J. James, someone with the same name as his recently jailed partner. Thomas J. James didn't know Vincent Dog Williams, and Vincent Dog Williams didn't know him, and still didn't. He somehow persuaded Thomas J. James to deviate from the drug trade and travel 20 miles with him, a total stranger, to rob a numbers house for a few $100s. Mind you, Thomas J. James at the time is a known drug dealer who always carried semi-automatic weapons, specifically because of his dislike of revolvers, to protect himself from people like Vincent Dog Williams. A total stranger got Thomas J. James to not only rob, but to also give up his preferred style of weapon for one he dislikes, referring to that of which was found to be the weapon that was used to kill Mr. McKinnon, a revolver.
Being a drug dealer already comes with its own dangers. I'm sure that anyone in that trade would not be so quick to trust strangers. Because he was dealing drugs, Thomas J. James was always paranoid and cautious. If Thomas J. James would have shot anybody in this instance, I would presume that it would have been Vincent instead of Mr. McKinnon. What do you all think?
What would have to be even more of an unbelievable coincidence are the sightings of the two robbers fleeing and the identification of said robbers by the residents. Vincent Dog Williams was recognized by the area residents as being the gunman. Because he grew up and still lived in the area, the residents were able to recognize a familiar face. Although Vincent was seen fleeing, he was never charged or questioned. Residents also said Thomas Tommy James was the other robber. How is this humanly possible? He was supposedly in jail. Thomas J. James, however, was convicted for this crime, even though he knew no one in this area and no one knew him. He did not hang in this area. He did not grow up in this area, nor did he live in this area. So who from that area would recognize him on sight or by name?
With all the evidence pointing to Vincent Dog Williams being the person with the gun, how and why did Thomas J. James get convicted for murder?
Could all of this be a mere coincidence? Or from the facts a reasonable mind will conclude? Number 1. Due to Dogg's accomplice wearing a mask, no one seems to have gotten a clear view of his face. Number 2. Since Vincent Dogg Williams and Thomas Tommy James are known to rob together, it was assumed by the locals that it was Thomas Tommy James, which is evidence given to the police and Mrs. McKinnon. Number 3. According to Mrs. McKinnon, even Thomas Tommy James's mother thought he committed the crime with Vincent Dogg Williams. Number 4. Thomas Tommy James was supposedly in jail. Number 5. Vincent Dogg Williams committed the crime with another one of his accomplices. Number 6. No Thomas James could have been involved. Number 7. Vincent Dogg Williams is the gunman. Number 8. And finally, Thomas J. James is actually innocent.
Vincent Dogg Williams was identified as the gunman, but never charged or questioned. His involvement in everything was totally cast aside and forgotten about, leaving all the charges to fall on Thomas J. James. If the dates of these events are accurate, how could any Thomas James be involved in this crime, let alone Thomas J. James? If Thomas Tommy James went to jail the day before this crime took place, on January 17, 1990, it would be impossible for him to have been seen fleeing the crime scene, right? What would be even more impossible is someone recognizing Thomas J. James fleeing that scene, a man who coincidentally has the same name as someone known to be involved with the plotting of this robbery, with no affiliation to the area or its people. This matrix of coincidences has cost an innocent man his life. The blind can see that an unjust error has been made that urgently needs fixing. So coincidence? I think not.